On October 17, 1992, Osama Basnan, who will later be accused of assisting two 9/11 hijackers in San Diego, throws a party for the blind sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman. The party is held at Basnan's house in Washington, D.C. in 1993. The FBI will later receive reports about Basnan hosting this party. In 1992, the FBI was told that Basnan had a link to Eritrean Islamic Jihad, a militant group later linked to al-Qaeda. Furthermore, records indicate Basnan entered the United States in 1980 on a guest visa and has been in the country illegally ever since, but the FBI fails to investigate Basnan and no effort is made to deport him. A post-9/11 FBI report will indicate that in 1992, Basnan is working for the Saudi government in some capacity, but details of his job will later remain classified. In April of 1998, Basnan, now living in San Diego, California, claimed to write a letter to Saudi Arabian Prince Bandar bin Sultan, former U.S. Saudi Arabian ambassador, and his wife, Prince Haifa bin Faisal, asking for financial help because his wife needs thyroid surgery. The Saudi embassy sends Basnan $15,000 and pays the surgical bill. However, according to the University of California at San Diego hospital records, Basnan's wife, Majida Dweikat, is not treated until April of 2000. Basnan will later come under investigation for possibly using some of this money to support two of the 9/11 hijackers, Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, who will arrive in San Diego, although the 9/11 Commission will conclude that evidence does not support these charges. As of recent times, yes, they have. December 4th, 1999, Princess Haifa bin Faisal, the wife of Prince Bandar and Saudi ambassador to the United States, began sending monthly cashier's checks of between $2,000 and $3,500 to Majida Dweikat, the Jordanian wife of Basnan. Accounts also differ over whether the checks are first sent between November of 1999 and March 2000. A Saudi government representative will state on December 4th, 1999, that Basnan's wife signs many of the checks over to her friend Mamal Bajar, the wife of Omar al-Bayoumi. The payments are made to Riggs Bank, a bank which appears to have turned a blind eye to Saudi embassy transaction, also has longstanding ties to covert CIA operations. Some will later suggest that the money from the wife of the Saudi ambassador passes through the al-Bayoumi and Basnan families as intermediaries, ends up in the hands of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar. Basnan will vigorously claim to know al-Bayoumi and not to know him at all, or to know him very vaguely, throwing investigators off. However, early reports will say that Basnan and his wife are very good friends of al-Bayoumi and his wife. Both couples live at the Parkwood Apartments at the same time as the two hijackers, al-Mihdhar and al-Hazmi. Prior to that, the couples lived together in a different apartment complex. In addition, the two wives will be arrested together in April of 2001 for shoplifting. According to an FBI agent who investigates Basnan after 9/11, Basnan and al-Bayoumi are close friends. For instance, phone calls records will show that there are about 700 calls from various phone numbers between Basnan and al-Bayoumi in 1 year period. The agent will later add that even if one discounted some of the calls, given that their wives are friends, the calls between the cell phones are most likely between Basnan and al-Bayoumi. In early 2000, between early 2000 and September 10, 2001, 9/11 hijackers had several links to Sheikh Omar Abdel Rahman. 9/11 hijackers Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi attended a mosque in San Diego that is visited by an unnamed associate of Abdul Rahman, who is under investigation by the Los Angeles FBI. The mosque is also attended by Osama Basnan, who once threw a party for the blind sheikh. 9/11 hijacker Muhammad Atta is seen with Adran Shuknajura, son of Abdul Rahman's former translator, and Atta and hijacker Marwan al-Shehi may have attended the mosque run by his father. Hijacker Mohan al-Shari is seen near the Minnesota clinic where Abdul Rahman is being held. Some hijackers even have the same mailing address as Abdul Rahman and at least one of his associates. Khalid al-Mihdhar and other hijackers obtained false ID cards from Mohammed el-Atris, an associate of an unindicted co-conspirator at Abdul Rahman's trial. In addition, people attending a Bronx mosque warned to stay away from Lower Manhattan on 9/11. According to FBI reports, in early 2000, the Able Danger data mining program apparently identifies Atta, al-Shibh, al-Hazmi, and al-Mihdhar as members of an al-Qaeda cell throughout their association with people linked to Abdel Rahman in Brooklyn. In early 2000, the U.S. program Able Danger identified 4 of the hijackers as members of the so-called Brooklyn cell. After the program links them to mosques that were associated by Blind Sheikh, Army SOCOM lawyers demanded that Able Danger delete 3 terabytes of the information, claiming that 3 of the hijackers, Mohammed Atta, Marwan al-Shibh, and Ziad Jarrah, were deemed U.S. citizens, even though we've later come out through Pentagon SOCOM lawyers and Pentagon officials that the men were not U.S. citizens. In autumn of 2000, 9/11 hijacker Nawaf al-Hazmi works at a gas station while living in San Diego, where other suspected Islamist militants work. This is the only apparent instance of any of the hijackers having a job while inside the United States. The Texaco gas station, Sam's Star Mart, is owned by Osama Sam Mustafa. Mustafa was first investigated by the FBI in 1991 after he told police officers that the U.S. needed another Pan Am 103 attack, that he could be the one to carry out the attack. He also said all Americans should be killed because of the 1991 Iraq War. In 1994, he was investigated for being a member of the Palestinian organization, the PFLP and PLO, and for threatening to kill an Israeli intelligence officer living in San Diego. The investigation was closed but reopened again in 1997 when he was tried to a possible plot in North Carolina. Apparently, it was closed again before 9/11. He was also associates with Osama Basnan and others who have contact with the hijackers. Witnesses later claim he cheered when he was first told of the 9/11 attacks. January 2000, the brother of an unnamed known al-Qaeda operative was under surveillance and was seen chatting with Ed Salame, who is also known as Iliad Krenovich, the gas station manager. Los Angeles FBI office was investigating this operative, and it called Salame about the person. Salame refused to come to Los Angeles for an interview and refused to give his home address to be interviewed there. Faced with a reluctant witness, the FBI dropped the matter. Modar Abdullah, a friend of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, also worked at the gas station around the same time. He may have learned of the 9/11 plot as early as the spring of 2000. And additionally, according to one witness, Abdullah, Osama Badwala, Omar Bakbarashat, and other gas station employees will appear to show foreknowledge of the 9/11 attacks one day before they take place. The hijackers are living with an FBI informant named Abdussatta Sheikh, who was aware of their contact with at least Mustafa, and Sheikh had given reports about Mustafa to the FBI in the past. According to his handler, Stephen Butler, of the San Diego FBI office. However, Sheikh fails to tell the FBI and O'Brien about their contacts with him. The 9/11 congressional inquiry will later strongly imply that Salame and Mustafa assisted the hijackers with the 9/11 plot, but the FBI will appear uninterested in them and will later maintain that the hijackers received no assistance from anyone. Sheikh will later admit that he knew al-Hazmi was working illegally at the gas station, but he didn't tell the FBI handler about this, Stephen Butler. In September of 2000, Osama Basnan and Ramzi bin al-Shibh were somehow linked this month, possibly through a female relative or friend of Basnan's. Basnan is a suspected Saudi spy who helped Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar in San Diego. Bin al-Shibh is a hijacker associate living in Hamburg, Germany, linked to Mohammed Atta and other 9/11 hijackers there. In November of 2003, an unnamed FBI agent who focuses on investigating Basnan after 9/11 will be interviewed by the 9/11 Commission. This agent will later be paraphrased, saying that one interesting fact is that Osama Basnan's, then there is a redacted gap or two or more words, was in phone and email contact with Ramzi bin al-Shibh in September of 2000. This agent states that they apparently met over the internet as bin al-Shibh was looking for an American wife. The agent also notes that bin al-Shibh had confirmed this fact in interrogations later with the CIA. July 23rd of 2001, al-Bayoumi moves out of the Parkwood Apartments in San Diego. Basnan, who had been living in the apartment complex nearby, but he moves into the Parkwood Apartments in July. And on the rental application, Basnan lists al-Bayoumi as a personal reference and a friend. A classified FBI report shortly after 9/11 suggests that the fact that Basnan moved in shortly after al-Bayoumi left, which could indicate that he succeeded Omar al-Bayoumi and may be undertaking activities on behalf of the government of Saudi Arabia. Both Basnan and al-Bayoumi have been suspected to be Saudi government spies by the FBI, but the FBI never further investigates them. Al-Bayoumi would move to Britain on September 21st of 2001, while Basnan remained in San Diego through 9/11. According to one U.S. official, Basnan later celebrated the heroes of 9/11 and talked about what a wonderful, glorious day it had been at a party shortly after the attacks. On October 3rd, 2001, a classified FBI report on this date indicates that alleged hijacker associate Osama Basnan has longtime links to both the bin Laden family and the Saudi government. The report states that Basnan has been determined to have known Osama bin Laden's family in Saudi Arabia and to have telephonic contact with members of the bin Laden family who are currently in the U.S. It also states that the possibility of Basnan being affiliated with the Saudi Arabian government or the Saudi Arabian intelligence service is supported by Basnan listing his employment in 1992 as the blank. Unfortunately, the rest of that sentence remains redacted. The report further notes that the fact that in July of 2001, Basnan moved into the same San Diego apartment complex where hijackers al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar and hijacker associate al-Bayoumi lived right after al-Bayoumi moved away. The FBI report, which will be obtained by the website intelwire.com in 2008, is heavily redacted, and all mentions of Basnan's name appear to be redacted as well. However, one can sometimes determine when Basnan is being referred to. For instance, the same paragraph that mentions his link to the bin Laden family also says the same person with that link hosted a party for Sheikh Abdel Rahman in 1992, and press reports have indicated that person was Basnan. April 24, 2002, Crown Prince Abdullah, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, had been due to arrive in Houston, Texas to meet with President Bush at his ranch in nearby Crawford, Texas. Abdullah's entourage is so large that it fits 8 airplanes. As these planes land, U.S. intelligence learns that one person on the flight is wanted by U.S. law enforcement and 2 more on a terrorist watch list. An informed source will later claim that the FBI was ready to storm the plane and pull the guys off. However, the State Department feared an international incident and an inter-agent conflict erupts over what to do. Later, the Wall Street report in 2003 details about what happened to the 3 men in the end not entirely clear, that no one at the State Department was willing to provide any facts about the incident. What is clear, though, is that the 3 didn't get anywhere near Crawford, but were also spared the embarrassment of arrest, and the House of Saud was spared an international incident. The next day, Osama Basnan, alleged associate of al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar, reports his passport stolen to Houston police. This confirms that Basnan is in Houston on the same day that Crown Prince Abdullah, Prince Saud Al Faisal, and Saudi U.S. Ambassador Prince Bandar meet with President Bush, Vice President Cheney, Secretary of State Powell, and National Security Advisor Condoleezza Rice at Bush's Crawford Ranch. While in Texas, it is believed that Basnan had met with a high Saudi prince who has responsibilities for intelligence matters and is known to bring suitcases full of cash into the United States. The still classified section of the 9/11 congressional inquiry is said to discuss the possibility of Basnan meeting this figure at this time. It is unknown if Basnan or the Saudi prince he allegedly meets have any connection to the 3 figures wanted by the FBI, or even if one or both of them could have been among the wanted figures. Basnan will later be arrested in the United States for visa fraud in August of 2002 and then deported 2 months later to Saudi Arabia. On November 22nd, 2002, Newsweek would later report that hijackers al-Hazmi and al-Mihdhar had received money from Saudi Arabia's royal family through two Saudis, Omar al-Bayoumi and Osama Basnan. Newsweek bases its reports on information linked from the 9/11 congressional inquiry in October of 2002. Al-Bayoumi is in Saudi Arabia by this time, and Basnan was deported to Saudi Arabia just 5 days earlier. Saudi officials in Prince of Haifa immediately denied any connections to the Islamic militants. Newsweek reports that while the money trail could be perfectly innocent, it is nonetheless intriguing. It could ultimately expose the Saudi government to some of the blame for 9/11. Some Saudi newspapers, which usually reflect government thinking, claim the leak is blackmail to pressure Saudi Arabia into supporting war with Iraq. Senior U.S. government officials will later claim the FBI and CIA failed to aggressively pursue leads that might have linked the two hijackers to Saudi Arabia. This causes a bitter dispute between the FBI and the CIA officials and the intelligence panel investigating 9/11 attacks. A number of senators, including Richard Shelby, John McCain, Mitch McConnell, Joseph Lieberman, Bob Graham, Joseph Biden, and Charles Schumer, expressed concern about the Bush administration's action or non-action regarding the Saudi royal family and its possible role in funding Islamic militants and having connections to 9/11 hijackers. Lieberman will later go on to say, I think it's time for the president to blow the whistle and remember what he said after September 11. You're either with us or you're with al-Qaeda. FBI officials strongly deny any deliberate connection between these two men and the Saudi government or the hijackers. But later, even more connections between them and both entities are revealed. And as of the current date, it is now known, after unredacted 28 pages of Joint House inquiry, that it was indeed Saudi officials such as Osama Basnan, Omar al-Bayoumi, Fahad al-Tamari, and Mossad al-Jarrah had connections to Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, and Hani Hanjour, who were living in California and Arizona. Question is, who will be held accountable for the crimes of 9/11? And will the U.S. State Department continue its cover-up of their Saudi interests?